Excuse me, everybody. I'm coughing up a storm here, but welcome. It's All Things Rex Worldwide. It's another Thursday, and my guest today is Mr. Ken Schreiner. 45 years in television. Excuse me, most of those on General Hospital, but 9 other soap operas, TVs, and movies. And he's one of my oldest friends in Hollywood. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Ken on. And we're going to talk Hollywood and Ken and shows and all sorts of things for you. So here comes Mr. Schreiner. This is Ken Schreiner. How you doing, Ken?
Oh, good to see you. Good to see you again. Yes, I'm ready to talk all about Hollywood. All things Hollywood.
All things Hollywood. So Ken and I go way back to 1902. Actually, I met Ken Schreiner in an acting workshop. One of the things that I don't know if Ken remembers, but I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard when I hear this, hey, hey, and I turn around and it's Ken, it's me. And I'm like, who are you? It's like from the acting workshop. We had met from Lillian Show. You remember that? I was on my way to Darkhole, where I was living at the time. It's Columbia Studios.
Yeah, I've tried to forget most of those days because then, what's the point? But I vaguely remember a young actor by the name of Steve Sikes roaming around, whistling on Hollywood Boulevard, trying to get somebody to handle him.
Handle me, right?
Or, I mean, well, you were looking for an agent.
Right. Well, yes, and it's good. But we met and then we did a workshop in Studio City off of Ventura and Laurel Grove at the Eddie Gay Dance Studio. Eddie Gay and his wife Margaret were filmmakers and dancers that had done movies with Bogart and other people, and they had a dance studio, and that's where Ken and I spent a whole lot of time learning on-camera technique from Lillian.
Yes, we did. She was quite a teacher. She was ahead of her time. Of course, she was out of the actor's studio, so she kind of debunked a lot of the actor's studio nonsense and cut to the chase of, she used to say at the actor's studio, they've got to feel it. But Lillian said, for you to feel it, it's got to start here and go there and come back here. So bypass that and just go here. So that was her kind of philosophy that, you don't have to think about all this horrible stuff to come up with the proper emotion, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, let's just say you've been on General Hospital for 45 years, Port Charles, all these other soap operas, and you and I were talking over dinner not that long ago in the last month about doing 130 pages or having 130 pages that they shoot each day.
Right.
And how you were prepared for that because of the way Lillian taught us.
Yes, that is exactly true, because in a lot of acting classes in Hollywood, the actors get a scene, they talk about it, they find a scene partner, they rehearse it for weeks at a time, and then they wait to put it up, and then they come back and they put it up again. Whereas Lillian threw us, here, take these pages, go out and come back in 10 minutes, and we're going to shoot it, which is the way it works in soap operas, especially, and in most of the world. There is no all this time to most of acting in television is, just add water, spontaneous. You got to come up with it quick and be ready to go. So that's why Lillian was so instrumental in our young careers, because she kind of gave us those tools.
She really was, instrumental in helping people understand what a career in Hollywood was like versus what a lot of acting coaches were. I mean, I know you study with other people, but I studied with a lot of other coaches through the years, even long after you got, General Hospital. But and what I found now, especially looking back, was so many people wanted you to be this really, really great actor. Like really, really great actors don't necessarily work. Learning how to work in television or film, learning how to have a career and what the system wants of you, it seems to be a whole lot more important than doing what you just described, where you keep working on the same scene over and over again until you gotten it right, like you would in theater.
Right. But I think I never I never went to any other acting classes other than Lillian and then the school of soap opera acting where you did it every day. I never felt the need to go to the hot acting coaches in Hollywood because I thought we already got the education. We already got the foundation from the best. And so I really wasn't interested in listening to other acting coaches pontificate. So I already knew what I knew and was, ready to just, take it on as if somebody taught you how to lay bricks. You're now a bricklayer. So, or a car mechanic, he can listen to that motor and know exactly what's wrong with it. I feel we got the best training there was. So there was no point to go anywhere else for me. So, you may have gone to these other coaches and stuff, but I never saw the point in that. I thought Lillian really got us where we needed to be.
Well, I completely agree with you in that regard. And then we also did private lessons with her.
Right.
And Mom always liked you best. You were certainly one of her favorites. By the way, who I am in touch with right now is Terry Foster Brooks. I mean, she is on Facebook and we intersect every now and then, and some of the other people from those old days. But Terry Foster was Foster Brooks' daughter from the early days.
Yeah, Foster
Brooks.
Brooks.
Yes, indeed. So well, let's go back just a little bit because you and I kicked around. We hung out at Schwab's. We were all over town doing all sorts of different things, sneaking into studios, busting down the walls that tried to prevent us from being there. And then you got a contract with Monique James at Universal, and that's kind of started the whole thing. You want to tell us a little bit about how it went from Nick Nolte audition, or the Rich Man Poor Man, to the contract players?
No, I had a shot at auditioning for Monique James, and Lillian had me do a scene that was way ahead of my time, like some seasoned gambler and come on, Lady Luck. And it was I was like, 21, and I looked like I was off the beach. So it wasn't the proper scene, but yet she wanted me to play a guy that was already had a drinking and a gambling all of the stuff I knew nothing about. But I gave it the best I had, and she was more interested in the girl that I did the scene with, and I kind of thought, well, wait a minute, that didn't go good. So I kind of then about 6 months later or a year later or whenever the hell it was, they were looking for a kid to play Nick Nolte's son in Rich Man, Poor Man Book 2. And I had auditioned and they liked me and they said, would you be interested in being under contract here? And I said, yeah. And they said, good. Okay, we're going to put you under contract. I never told them that I was already in there and that they didn't even remember that. So I thought, let that just go. I said, well, I didn't, say, well, you guys turned me down a year ago. I didn't. I just said, oh, yes, I'd love to be under contract. And that was the end of that story. So, yeah, it was the second time worked.
And then you were in and you did some things under contract for 6 months or so. And then what happened?
No, I was there for a year. And I was, one day they'd call and say, you got to see with Gregory Peck. The next day, you'd get a call. You're going to work with Robert Conrad on Baba Black Sheep. You're going to be over here with Raymond Burr. So they had you, and they were paying you a weekly salary. So they would just throw you in these different shows in little parts. But for a young actor, you're basically working with these legends, and you're also getting paid, and you're building up credentials.
Awesome. So I just want to remind our viewers who are watching live that they have the opportunity, if they're on Facebook, to ask questions and leave comments, obviously. And if you like the show, be sure to like it. Be sure to share it out. And for those watching in replay, you can always still like the show, share it, and leave comments. So,
yeah.
All right. So then what happens? I mean, the contract ends.
Well, there was, it was a year contract. I think they were phasing out the contract system at Universal. It was towards the ending, and I don't know what really happened. I was there for a year, and then it was, well, we're not going to pick up your option. And it was like, what? But then a week later, I was doing guest spots, and and then a couple of weeks after that, or a month or two, I was on General Hospital. So it all kind of, it was what you hope in LA when you come here, that if you study, learn your craft, and opportunity meets your education, you've got them all under your belt. That's what you hope for. You hope that you don't get a shot and don't know what you're doing. So, you don't want to put the cart before the horse. So if you're going to, any of you young actors coming to Hollywood, the best thing to do is to get the education, because you're not going to get a lot of shots if you don't know what you're doing. So, know what you're doing, and then hope one day that it all comes together and your preparation and opportunity meet each other and you get the job.
Awesome. Well put. So in the meantime, back in those days, that was what, around 1977 when you got on the soap?
Yes.
So I think we met like in 74.
Right.
So those 4 years when we were breakfasting at Schwab's or tooling around or sneaking in the theater. By the way, people don't know, what did we do all over Hollywood to see movies?
Well, we had different devices as how to sneak into movies. And we always felt, being so actors, we were entitled to get in for free. So we found ways to get in for free, even though the theater owners didn't see it that way. Yes, I'm a SAG member. I'd like to see this movie. I'd like to see my peers at work. No. So we would find ways to back our way in. We would find ways to come out with a popcorn box and said, oh, I was just out. I forgot I left my lights on in the car. There was numerous scams that we tried to pull to get into the movies. And, I'd say about 85% of them worked. We got caught a couple of times. Get out of here.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. And it depended on the theater too, because like at the Avco on Wilshire, we just run up the stairs when they opened the exit. They let the remember that what did we do? We would go to, what was it, the Great American Food and Beverage for dinner or lunch or whatever it was, and then when the theater let out, we'd run up the stairs.
Yeah, but I think we tried not to pay for even one ticket, because yes, the old-fashioned way would be pay for one ticket, then open the exit door for your 5 friends. But I think we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to find clever ways to work our way in for no payment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we did the same thing with the studios.
Yes. We showed up with clipboards to get in on the lots, and yeah, we were pulling a lot of stuff that if people saw us today, we would just look like a bunch of kids with clipboards. We would look foolish, but somehow we were able to pull it off. I don't know how.
I think we pulled it off because we believed it.
Yes, we were committed.
Yeah, we were absolutely committed. That is for sure. So, what are some of your favorite memories from back then? What kinds of things did you, you and I? Oh, I have one thing I would say. Ken was a pretty avid motorcyclist. I had never ridden a motorcycle, so Ken and we found a motorcycle. Some dad was selling his kids a bike, and he bought a new one or something. So we go out on Ken's bike. I pay the guy, I think, $300, and now I have to ride home a bike. I've never ever ridden a bike before. I've been on the back of a motorcycle. I've never ever done it. So Ken's like, yeah, just do this. And I remember how tough it was trying to get home, but we finally managed. And then when I finally got the hang of riding a motorcycle, we'd ride all over the place, up and down Pacific Coast Highway and into the canyons and shoot.
Yeah, it took a while for you to get the hang of it, though. But once you did, we did do a lot of fun riding. We did ride all over Hollywood. I still ride all over Hollywood too. I have my Vespa now, and I still do the same, goofy rides. I ride up to the Hollywood sign, and I'll ride over here, and I'll ride here. So yeah, I'm still doing it, but it's just not as much fun as it was when you were 20.
No, this is true. Now,
Yes.
all of the people that we knew who were instrumental in or people that we got to hang out. Dick Miller is gone. Mario Recuzzo is gone. um, Bruce Kirby and his son are gone. I mean, just all sorts of actors that we get to hang out with. Any favorite stories from say Schwab's, because we spent a significant amount of time having breakfast at Schwab's.
Well, the old character actors at Schwab's that we grew up watching on TV and would sit with at breakfast, and they would always, when I got on General Hospital, they would always turn on, oh, you think you're a big shot because you're on a soap opera now. You're not going to be worth a damn as an actor until you're 50. And I said, yeah, guys, I know that. I'm well aware of it. You've got to get the weight as an actor, and I will, continue. But they were kind of right. In fact, they were right. That as a young actor, you're just a young actor. It's when you get into your 40s and 50s, and you can get the work. So I know that these guys were, all waiting for their, a meaty part, as I'm waiting for a meaty part today. We're all waiting for the meaty parts. So if there was a young actor that just got on a soap, I'd say the same thing. What do you think you are, a big shot? So yeah, I understood what they were coming from, but at the time, I thought, why do these guys are so mean? But they were right. All of those guys that we grew up, Hunts Hall and all these guys that were hanging out at Schwab's that were like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing time. I mean, it really was, because back then when there was television as opposed to now streaming where you can't keep track of everybody, you pretty much knew who everybody was. I mean, and the Hollywood stable is still pretty small. So the character actors that you would run into either at Schwab's or Nate Now's or Dupar's in the Valley and things like that. You look like you're about to say something there.
No, I'm saying that you're right, because whether it's Schwab's or Dupar's, I mean, we've all been sitting at Dupar's, and you look down and there's Dick Van Dyke. I mean, yes, there were character actors that you knew, but there were also big stars that were sitting around having breakfast too at these places.
So we were up at Adriano's one night, and I forget who, there was a couple of other actors sitting in the whatever, and we were sitting at the bar, we were having martinis, and you strike up a conversation with Charlton Heston.
Yes, I did. I thought the great Charlton Heston was coming in to take some food to go. He was standing there waiting, and I thought, well, what have I got to lose? And I said, Mr. Heston, I just want to tell you I'm a big fan, and I really loved growing up watching Planet of the Apes. And that kick-started him. And he did 30 minutes on the makeup and the ape movie, and all that went into the makeup and the time. And it's like, this guy, he didn't shut up. He just talked. And I said, oh my God, the great Charlton Heston is just going on and on and on and on and on about the Planet of the Apes. And I was just, I just wanted to say hello. And it was I didn't know that he was very friendly and very forthcoming about, he was a very nice guy. He just was looking to, have a conversation about a movie he did.
What's amazing is and what I really like about Hollywood is, whether you're working or not working, you run into an actor like we did with many times, is the wealth of stories of experiences that they have that they're so often willing to share to everybody around who's willing to listen. It is one of those. I can't think of. I just feel very grateful for all the people that I've met and all the people I get to hang out with, even all the disappointments that happen as living in Hollywood, because it's very idyllic in some ways. It can be very cutthroat and negative and devastating for a lot of people, but it also has this just really weird charm that you get to see your childhood idols and people that you grew up watching on TV and movies. And sometimes, you get the opportunity of sitting down and they'll tell you all sorts of stories about stuff that, that who they had admired or got to hang out with in their lives.
Well, that's true. It's just that, like in Hollywood, as you know, like you said, you get the right actor at the right time. I mean, I have seen Robert Blake for years. And I was going to do a play that he had done called Love Letters, and he was sitting next to me, and I just said, Mr. Blake, and he talked for 15 minutes about how he didn't like doing love letters, but there you go. Now, I always thought, geez, it looks like if I said something to Robert Blake, he'd bite my head off because he just didn't seem like he wanted to be bothered. But he like you said, you never know when they want to talk. And if you get them at the right talking time, they got, great stories. Now, I could have come up to Mr. Blake at some other time and he might have, said, get lost. So you just don't know.
Well, it is true about some people. For example, Mario was a good friend of Robert Blake's, and Don Medford, who was a breakfast buddy and friend, was a director for Beretta. Yeah. And I would have people come into town, and I said, well, can I bring some people down to the set? And Don would say, you can come down to the set, but please make sure nobody interacts with Bobby, just because he could explode. And yet we'd be down there, and sometimes he was very, very nice. I mean, we would hover in the background and have nothing to do with it. When he came out with his book recently, he wanted to do my podcast, Rex Sikes Movie Beat, and he was going to do that, and we set up, and then I had to leave Hollywood, and he didn't want to do it if we couldn't do it in the studio. We're going to do it in a friend of mine had a studio in Glendale. I said, well, I'll do it remotely. You go to the studio, I'll do it. He decided not to, and he went on Piers Morgan on CNN, and apparently just hated that experience. But it had been the first time that he was doing media again since he had written his book. But
when you say you left Hollywood, do you mean you were drummed out of Hollywood, or you just left Hollywood?
I was chased out of Hollywood. Yeah,
drummed out. You were like shown to get out.
Get the hell out of here, Sykes. We don't need you anymore.
Well, the old expression in LA here: all roads in LA lead to the airport. So let that be a lesson. They all do.
They all do. It is interesting how many people come in. Ava has a question. She says, hey, Ken, what's 45 years of acting in General Hospital like? Did you see a lot of changes over the years?
Yes, quite a bit of changes. It was a grand time in the 70s and the 80s. And then when the show was in, everybody came home from school and everybody was watching the show in the 80s and the 90s. It was a lot of fun. And as the ride went on and on, the ride got bumpier and bumpier, but, you still kind of hang on because it's still a great job. And and you're still playing this character that you started playing as a teenager. And now he's, so you still got to find ways to reinvent it and make it fun, even though the ride is, this is not the same. Whoops. I just lost you. Oh, there you go. Are you back?
Yeah, I figure you get to recover from that on your own. And we lost Skin temporarily. So the amazing thing about all of this is that, and he should be back, is that I look back at Hollywood. Again, it could be very bittersweet. It can be just here he is. It can be absolutely devastating, or it can be absolutely glorious. It's really what you make of it. Well, very good. You managed to rescue your phone then.
Yeah.
So continue. You were saying.
I was just saying that when the ride gets bumpy, as Betty Davis said, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride, because it will be a bumpy ride. The longer you stay at the game, it gets bumpy. So it's been, to answer the question about the changes, yes, there's been numerous changes over the decades of being on General Hospital, and I've weathered them all. For whatever reason, I've just I haven't, I left, did some other soaps and tried other, and had fun doing other stuff, but I kept returning and still been playing the Scotty Baldwin character now for 45 years. So, it would be like asking Peter Falk, what was it like playing Columbo for, 5, I think that when you find a character that you have had success with, you stick with it, right?
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's cool. What? Oh, we just removed Ken by accident. That's real cool. But yeah, there. Obviously as well. In 45 years of acting, is that on one show, is that a record? I think that's a great question because you say, well, let's say Peter Falk played Columbo for 5 years. Some people, Friends, for example, lasted 10 years. What show? Frasier was 11 years or something like that. 200 some odd episodes, 20 episodes a season. But frankly, there aren't any shows that last 45 years except the soap operas. So, and you
Well,
said
actually, according to the TV Guide, and I'm the longest running character that's been on television because I've had 45 years, but the character started in 1966 as a kid. Little Scotty Baldwin was like, a kid, and then he was like 6 or 7. Then I picked him up in 77. So the character has been around for, like 55 years. So he is, as far as a TV character goes, whether it's, nighttime, daytime, there is a record there. I don't know what that gets me. Maybe in the Guinness Book of Records. Who knows?
I can't buy you coffee at Dupar's anymore.
No.
So, there haven't been a lot of people though who have come on that show and started careers. John Stamos, Demi Moore, Rick Springfield was already known when he went on. I mean, who are some of the people who've graced that hallway or that soundstage, which, by the way, has changed over the years? It's been in a number of different locations.
Yeah, we jumped around to a few studios but we're back at the same studio, the same lot we started at. They just built a new building for the show about 20 years ago, but we jumped over to the Desi Lou, the Gower studios, and then came back. So yeah, it's that in itself, it's just it keeps moving.
Well, that whole Gower thing is bittersweet for me because, of course, I lived in Columbia Studios at that soundstage number 1 for about a year and a half, and then it became ABC Entertainment Complex for a while, and so I would visit there. And then more recently, within the last 20 years or whatever, they tore down that soundstage, turned it into a parking lot, and it's a very different place. But do you have a preference which studio you were ever at?
Well, when we moved over to the Desi Lou studios, and unbeknownst to us at the time, that we were actually shooting on the I Love Lucy stage. The stage that they shot I Love Lucy was where we set up shop in 1978. We were there for a year, and I did not know that at the time because I was a I Love Lucy fanatic. So the idea that we were on the same stage where the Mertzes and the Ricardos were is mind blowing. And when I sometimes now watch old episodes of Gomer Pyle, which was also a Desi Lou show that was shot on the lot too, I can see that the barracks was really the studio. Because it was a very
right,
kind of indoor. We had to walk from the stage outside to the sound stage, which was a good walk. So if it was raining or windy, your whole hair and makeup just got blown away before you got to the stage. So it was a weird setup, but it was fun because it was so, old school, and it was all so new to us and fun doing this new version of a soap opera where they were shooting outside and they were editing, and it wasn't just like live, like with organ music like the old days. This was now the new soap operas where we're going to take the cameras, we're going to shoot scenes out of sequence, we're going to edit, we're going to do outdoor shots. So it was all fun.
That's very cool. Very cool. We're going to have to take a break in just a moment. I do want to make a comment from Catherine too, but I don't know if you know this, but that soundstage that I lived in that you visited from time to time was where they shot the Three Stooges shorts. That soundstage 1 at Columbia was the Three Stooges, and I think later they shot Bewitched in that very same soundstage. Of course, now it's gone, but But I knew that at the time I was living there. And
Well, I didn't, and I think that you'd think that you would like go. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel the Ricardos, but I don't know if you. It's but it's nice to know that they were there before you, and it would have been nice that I knew that at the time. But it's even nicer to find out. Oh my God, we were there, and we were doing a soap opera on what was one of the funniest shows on television at the time.
and with a live 3-camera shoot or 4-camera shoot.
You there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hello?
I don't think Ken can hear me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to commercial and we'll try and solve the thing behind the scenes with Ken here. All right. So let's take a moment here.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And I'm back. We've lost Ken temporarily. We're hoping to get him back. And excuse me. Let's see here. Catherine said, I'll save that until we get Ken back. He's dropped out and hopefully he'll be back in. But hi, Debbie. It's good. Thank you. I'm glad that you can hear us both. And Tim, fantastic. Yeah, 45 years is amazing. And Ken and I, some of the friends that I grew up with, besides Ken, was Miguel Ferrer, who from Crossing Jordan and RoboCop and so many things. Rosemary Clooney and Jose Ferrer's son. There were 4 other siblings. All of whom I'm friends with. There were Bill Mooney, George Clooney, Sean Cassidy, and so many of these people that we would kick around with in Hollywood. Do you remember? I wanted to say what Catherine was saying. You're back. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
All right, we hear you too. All right, so Catherine Young said, my mom is a huge fan. I was watching General Hospital since I was little. I think you're an amazing actor. Well, at least someone does. That's very cool. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, I have one fan now. If I could just spread her around the country then, huh?
And Debbie says, would love to hear something enlightening from you while you are alone. You are wonderful. That's really interesting. I don't know what it means exactly. I don't know.
Well, I've said a lot of enlightening things already, so I don't know. I'm out of enlightening things.
So, what I was just gonna say, what I want to go back to, like, what are some of the, fun memories that you have kicking around Hollywood or that we shared together? And they don't have to be shared memories, but stuff that just from those bygone days, either before you got on General Hospital or when you first started. That when Ken was gone, when that people don't know about you or me or us. What kind of what was Hollywood for the kids like?
Well, Hollywood for us was nonstop. Go, because if we weren't going to every movie or going to acting class 5 days a week or going motorcycle riding or going to Schwab's we didn't stop. It was one big pursuit to get a career going as an actor. And the more movies you saw, the more classes you took, the more people you met, that was all you could really do. I mean, we did everything. I mean, whether or not we did what all actors try and do. I don't know if they still do that when they come here today because things have changed so drastically. But, that was the pursuit. The pursuit was the pursuit of getting a SAG card and getting a couple of lines on television, getting a part.
Yeah, it truly is amazing. I remember how much I hated weekends and holidays because you couldn't do anything on weekends and holidays. You could at least sneak into a studio Monday through Friday, but you couldn't do it on the weekend. It didn't make any difference and then holidays would come, or when hiatus came around, it just felt like you couldn't pursue anything. It was for me, a very frustrating and lonely time then because.
Well, yes, the weekends were always kind of like, well, okay, we can go to these movies and then we're going to be jealous because we want to be in these movies, but you're not going to get in this movie until Monday or a movie because nobody's auditioning. I do remember us being in acting class, and I had done, I think, my first part long before Universal. I had 5 lines on The Young and the Restless in 1975.
Flowers for Miss Brooks, wasn't it?
Flowers for Miss Brooks. And I told all you guys in the class that I was going to walk down to Art's Deli and get us sandwiches. And I thought on this walk, I was on TV today for the first time. I'm sure I'll be recognized. And I was convinced while I was walking that 2 blocks down to Art's Deli and getting a couple of roast beef sandwiches or whatever I got. And then I got back to and nobody recognized me. And I thought, well, I thought this is it. I'm on TV. Yes, what is your name? I'd love to sign that autograph, but it didn't really work that way. It was just one little part on a soap opera back in 1975. But it was a big deal for me, and it was a big deal for all actors to get their first speaking part.
I remember that I was shooting Massacre Central High, and I'd gotten this part. I think you were asking me what it was like, and I was very torn at the time. It was great, but it felt weird, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. And then when the movie came out, I wasn't sure what to think of it either. People would come up and ask for autographs if we were in the theater or somewhere around, and it felt really, really weird and really strange. But I remember how disappointed I was because I was having to work on this movie, and you got to go to the funeral for Larry Fine.
Yeah, but I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was sad because it's like, I didn't. Yeah, I made a joke to an actor the other day. His son is going to study with Howard Fine. He's the big acting teacher in Hollywood now. And I said, oh, I studied with his brother, Larry Fine, back in the 70s. And he got the joke because he knew that Larry's last name was Fine because Howard Fine's the big acting coach in Hollywood now. He's been around for a while, I think, Howard Fine, right?
Say that again. Yeah, no, he has been around for a while. Absolutely. And I would say this, that how has the industry changed? What I've noticed is that back when you and I were kids, nobody wanted to know. They could care less if you were in a play. You could be in a play and they go, we don't care. What are you workshopping, or what are you doing, or what are your parts? All they wanted was, did you have TV credits, or were you in a workshop? Nowadays, it seems like a lot of people are like, what kind of play are you doing? What have you done? And I have a lot of friends who are casting directors who go, well, the reason why we're now into plays is because we know that if you're an actor and you're in a play, that you have to be it's an ensemble kind of thing, and you have to be there for a certain duration, and that you put in your dues and blah, blah, blah. So I would venture that a lot of that has changed. There's a question here from Teresa Chaz. It says, Ken, what do you think about Days being moved to Peacock?
That's that's kind of like the new Hollywood streaming and all that stuff. I don't understand it completely yet. I don't know if it's a good or I don't know that much about the streaming world and how it works, and is that really the future? We don't know.
Yeah, here's how it's changed for me. I just said this earlier today. I think back when you and I were, in the 70s, you knew that there were 13 channels. Cable hadn't happened yet. There was 3 networks and syndication, and a UHF channel that was really nothing. And so every night of the week, you could know what was on television and pretty much who was starring in the shows, whether it was Beretta or Barnaby Jones or I Dream of Jeannie, whatever the show was, you knew where they were. Now with streaming and with all the channels and everything that's going on, I don't have a clue who most of the actors are. I don't know what most of the shows are. I don't get to see hardly anything anymore by comparison. Where at one time, I mean, half of my friends from Schwab's were on TV in the 70s at that time. So it's very different. It's a very different world nowadays. There's just so much. There's just such incredible stuff that's out there.
Well, I make it a point, for some reason, I'm just hooked on old Perry Mason episodes, and I watch at least one a night because I love to look at the cars of that day, the 60s, and I love the courtroom drama. And I swear to you, every time I turn on a Perry Mason, there's some actor that I know.
Yeah.
That there was a guy that I worked with on General Hospital for 10 years, Frank Maxwell. There he was last night's episode. I see them all. So that was a go-to show, I guess, in LA for actors because it was such a great scripted show. There were so many parts available.
It is truly, truly amazing. And Catherine says she's hooked on Matlock, and I agree. But you can go back and watch those shows. I think one of the things that's happening, and somebody asked, Debbie asked about how recognizable are you today? But I think part of what's happened with television, is the people who are watching TV, have aged. We're looking at people, our age, who have worked for 20 or 30 or 40 years. There's a familiarity with older viewers for television now that I don't know about the streaming side of it, but TV for sure.
Well, there's definitely a nostalgia right now for the 70s and 80s is all back. They're bringing back so many shows. They got American Gigolos back as a series. They're bringing back Working Girl. I mean, the material that we all loved, now that people are older, they kind of want to go back and see that stuff again. And I think these FETVs and these MeTV stations are booming with the product of old Matlocks and Perry Masons and Emergency, and God knows the list goes on and on.
And it's fun to see your friends, pop up in a show, or like we'll see Lillian, and I watch Friends a lot. I mean, I probably watched it 3 or 4 times series wise because I think it's a really wonderfully scripted show, and the then kid cast carried it off excellent. But Lillian played Matt LeBlanc or Joey's mom in the show. And when she came out back in the 90s, I'm like, oh my God, there's my acting coach. We would see her, and then remember how cool it would be where we would watch something and we'd find her on like some old Western, like The Lawman or something, and.
Well, I get one channel on my TV in my dressing room at General Hospital, and it's MeTV. And when people say, how was your day at General Hospital? I say, well, let's see. I saw 2 Bonanzas, 3 Riflemen, and then I went up and did a few scenes. So, yeah, that's kind of like, it's funny because that's the only station that I get to watch when I'm stuck in my dressing room at General Hospital. And it's all just the shows that I want to watch anyways. So, there you go.
So what you just said, I did this. I went up and shot a couple of scenes. I think for people to understand that, you've done this for 45 years, that pretty much you got it down. Not that it's not a challenge, or not that you don't have a lot of pages. I mean, we used to sit at Cyrano's while you were learning your scripts, and you'd have 15, 20, 30 pages of dialogue, and run lines while waiting for dinner, But after having done it, and after having the preparation that we got from Lillian, doing these kind of more grueling days, while it may be tough, you can do it. It's kind of like you got good at juggling, so now you can juggle a lot better.
Well, right. I always felt that if I can remember the lines with all this noise in a restaurant, then there's no, there's a lot of actors that will go up on their lines because some guy jingled some change in their pocket. And I'm thinking, Jesus, that ain't me. I don't even know what's going on around me because I learned that you learn your lines with distractions because that way you know your lines and you're just, so yeah, it was, even though it was crazy that we were there and you'd say, how are you learning those lines when all this noise? But, I did. So I never get distracted when I'm working. There could be crew guys moving cables and I don't even notice them. I see nothing. I'm just getting my lines out.
Well, that's very cool. And it talks about in terms of mastering, a skill or an ability. That's really very cool.
Yes, like you said, I learned to juggle some years ago, and now I'm still juggling.
Yeah. But it gets easier. Exactly. So I forgot what I was going to ask you. So I'll let you ask something, or somebody can ask you something. It says some shows can't be recast or remade because they were perfect the first time. I don't disagree with that statement. I think that's true. I think sometimes, bringing something back in a new version. What do you think about that?
What I think, I think like when I used to sit and hang out with Peter Falk at the gym,
right,
and play basketball with him and talk to him, and we would go to different places, and I kind of became, and he was in the middle of Columbo at the time, and he kind of was like Columbo. Yeah, let me tell you one thing, Ken. So, and when I see Peter Falk in these old movies on Turner Classic Movies, and I go, okay, he hasn't found Columbo yet, but he's on his way to being Columbo. Every actor that is known for a role on television, you have to have seen them in other stuff, and you go, well, I don't see him. I don't see Columbo yet. I don't see him yet. Oh, wait, I see a glimpse of Columbo, because he all actors, whether it's Carroll O'Connor, who eventually came up with Archie Bunker. You can watch Carroll O'Connor in The Dirty Dozen, and you don't see Archie Bunker there. So these actors that found that character, I don't think that another actor will ever find that character. They can't remake Columbo with another guy in a raincoat. I don't think.
No, I think the recent trying to redo All in the Family demonstrated that a lot. I was not one who was very fond of that.
Oh, shit. You there?
I am. Shit and all. Oh. It's okay. This is the internet. Nobody cares.
Hello?
Can you hear me? We lose him again. We lost Ken again. So one of the things that I would say to Ken when he comes back, or what I would offer, is that there he just disappeared and he'll be coming back. There are so many opportunities for each of us to pursue what it is that we want and to enjoy and to follow. And I would argue, never let that stop you. Ken's been doing something for 45 years, which was a dream of his prior to that, and he's been living that dream. And you and I and anyone else can do the same. It's just whether we think we can and whether we actually go for it. And yeah, luck is the intersection of preparation. And what does it say? I gotta go. Okay. Hey, all the best. And I don't know what that means, but okay, all the best. Sometimes I get comments that in the chat room I have no clue what it's in reference to. Here comes Ken. You're back.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Very good. So the absent Mr. Schreiner. So one of the things that we learned from Lillian that I always thought was very important, like you said, here, there, here, that kind of thing, is that we didn't have to be Abraham Lincoln for 8 months or a year of our life. We didn't have to go through all the pain and all the grueling crap in order to do it. Lillian always said she wanted an on and off switch. When they said action, you were the character, and when they said cut, you could go home and be yourself or step out of the free. You're not Scotty Baldwin, 7 days a week, but you are when the camera's rolling.
Yes, but once you, like I said, regarding Peter Falk and any other actor, I think once you find a character the line gets crossed, and then you just become the character. It takes very little for the actor to step into his part. I'm Peter Falk. I'm sure they said, Peter, let's shoot the scene. Bring me the raincoat, and he's the character.
I mean, yeah. Again, that goes back to like juggling well. I think the mastery of that. I agree with you. One of the things that always confounded me about him was that in person, I could almost never hear him speak. He always talked so quietly, and so you remember how soft spoken he was? Because I was always like, how do they mic him on the set?
I never noticed it because he loved to play basketball, and he would always join us, and he was yelling all the time on the court, throw me the ball, and then he would give me advice about life and stuff. I'd tell him I just won all this money in Vegas, and he said, "Oh, you're gonna give that money back, believe me." And it was, what do you mean give it back? He goes, if you think you won money in Vegas, keep going, because you'll give more of it back. So he had a way about him. I really liked Peter Falk, and that year I got to hang out with him. And I ran into him a few times afterward. He was always like, "Hey, kid, how are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm good, Peter. I'm doing a soap opera." But so this was before I even got on General Hospital, that I was hanging out with him and accumulating all of the knowledge that he had. And he just was a very likable guy. So I never noticed that he mumbled. I could always hear him.
Oh, it was always this lean in to hear him say whatever he was saying. I always felt he was talking to himself more than he was talking to us. But I get, the basketball, on the court. So we've got about 9 minutes or so left. We've got a question here. Do you support indie film, especially those that support women and the LGBTQ community?
I support everybody that's making movies. I have an actor friend coming over here in a minute. We're going to probably shoot a little something. Now that on these cell phones, we're all able to do anything we want to do. You can shoot and edit and put a product up on Instagram, and you can, it could look, people have shot full movies on their iPhones. So yeah, I support anybody that gets out there and just puts it in the can, because that's the most important thing. Is you can talk about it forever, but you just shoot it and then you go, well, what did we get? Well, I think we got some good stuff. So that's the beauty. And this kid that works on General Hospital with me, he's like that too. He just said, I'm going to come over and we're going to shoot this, us having this conversation. I said, well, what? He goes, we'll just shoot it. We'll get something. Trust me. So he's of that school. He's young. And I think that's the school to be from. If you just don't give it a lot of thought, you just shoot and see what you get.
So
like this show we're doing, who knows how this show was going to go an hour ago?
That's right.
So far it's gone all right, other than I dropped the phone a few times. But
all is good. All is good. Well, I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I could remember. Oh, I know. You want to tell the story of our trying to sandbag Will? On the Willow Glen house and all the prep work we did.
Yeah, that my brother and I moved to LA, and we took a house in Laurel Canyon, and Steve and I, he was Steve then before he became Rex. I said, hey, my brother's going to be home. Let's pretend like we were murdered. And we covered ourselves with ketchup, and we had the record skipping as if we were, and he came in, and I don't think he fell for it at all. I think he said, what are you idiots doing? So it's kind of, I don't think it worked, but we tried.
And that's all that can be expected of you, is to try.
Yes, we try. If we had cameras back then, we'd have done exactly what we did. We would have filmed it and filmed his reaction, and he would have said, oh my God, I better, but he didn't. He said, that's ketchup, you idiots. So, yeah.
So in terms of vintage Hollywood, there's a lot of places like Musso and Frank's. A lot of the places have disappeared since, we've been, running around or riding motorcycles and things like that. You still have some favorite haunts. I mean, Cyrano's is gone, Chasen's is gone. I mean, what are the cool places now? Dupar's is gone, Tiny Haley's gone, Schwab's is gone. They almost got rid of Nate Nell's.
Yeah, no, it's all. I mean, when you were in town a month ago, we went down to Vitello's, which is about as close to old Hollywood as you get because they still have a showroom upstairs. They still do live performances. So Vitello's is kind of still old Hollywood, and Musso and Frank, if you get into Hollywood. But other than that, I went to visit somebody at Dupar's over at CBS the other day, and Fairfax over there, and I was shocked how it looked like it was burned out, like a war zone. That old Fairfax theater was boarded up and closed up. It just seemed like not the way I remembered it. And so I've kind of stopped trying to go back and visit the old days because you just get disappointed now. Because it's changed.
Very true. Well, they tore down, Miguel's home, in Roxbury. I mean, they're tearing everything down in Roxbury. They tore down Lillian's house. That went, the way of everything. I mean, the old days continue to disappear there, and I guess make room for the new. Make room for the new.
Yes, well, they can make room for the new, but I mean, that's why you got to know when it's time to get out of town. So when you say I've had a day. My day is I'm going to do other things. I mean, you don't want to hang on too long, as they say, to the ski rope. You got to know when to go and move on and do something else. I mean, some people would say 45 years on playing the same character, you might have hung on too long. I say, well, I probably did. But, I did. It just no actor is giving up acting work. And as long as you're still getting paid to be that character, you're going to do it. I've never seen an actor say, oh no, I'm not doing that. They'll say, most actors will still say, is there a little part in there for me? So I think that's the whole actor's philosophy is, well, you never know who's going to call. I'm still in LA, so I could bump into my next job tonight.
That is an amazing thing. It is the idea that, I mean, I can remember way back when thinking I will never retire from this. There's just no reason to retire. And most people don't, they just keep doing it until they can't.
Right. Or the phone just stops ringing completely. And then they go, well, but then, you get out and you create new things. And then you do what all actors that you get into the future with, YouTube and Instagram and making your own damn movies like we used to when we were kids with Super 8 cameras. Now you can make a movie. I can make a short film after I hang up with you in a half an hour and put it on Instagram and get 20,000 views. And that's still doing something. You may not be getting paid for it, but you're still doing something. Staying active. Right?
That's an excellent point.
Yes. Yes, and if I had a hat, I could cover it up.
And if you had a hat, you could cover it up?
Yeah, you said you have an interesting point. I said, yes, if I had a hat. If I comb my hair, it's an old joke.
That's that. Just because your head comes to a point doesn't mean you're sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I missed that one. I apologize. It went like the roof over my head.
Right. Well, so it was good doing your show. I hope that everybody enjoyed the show out there in the Rex Sikes land of your web series. Is this a web series or a podcast? What is this exactly?
This is a show for the Los Angeles Tribune. I don't know how they define it. It can also be repurposed as a podcast, but it isn't yet. Some people talk about, it's the equivalent of what television would be, except it's a live stream. So it's live TV, but on the internet. And but that said, it's been an amazing time. I'll see you soon. I don't know exactly when I'm coming back home, but I'll be there sometime soon. I know I've got some responsibilities to be there in the next coming months. So
yes, I know you will turn up as you do, like a bad penny. You will be back here.
I will be back like a bad penny. That's right.
Yes, and I'll see you when you're back here. And thank you to all you viewers out there that hopefully enjoyed the show today.
Well, and before you go, why don't you have you are on Twitter where you post a lot of stuff, and Instagram. Why don't you give out the name of your Twitter account if you want, or your Instagram, so people know if they don't already follow you, they know how they can.
At Ken Schreiner on Twitter.
At Ken Schreiner on Twitter.
Yes, just go to Twitter. Just
and
yes, and you'll see some funny videos that I just made and making some new ones coming up.
So here's the thing is if you like the show and you're proud of the show, you can also share the show out on Twitter, on Instagram, let people know that they can watch your discussion here. They can see it, by the way, if they don't already know, on Facebook, on the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Roku TV, and elsewhere. And go ahead and leave comments in the replay. The replay will be immediately available. The moment we stop recording, you can watch the replay. So if you want to, Ken, you can go to my Twitter, or you can go to wherever you on your phone, and you can watch the show, or you'd have someone in your household show you how to do these things, if you don't already know how.
Right. Well, I'll tweet the link up to this show so that people can see it that would be interested in listening to me pontificate for an hour.
Right. And I want to thank you for pontificating. I'll see you soon. And meanwhile, all the best to you.
Okay. All right. I'll catch you later.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
For now.
Okay.
And with that, that's Mr. Schreiner. You've seen another show on All Things Rex. And I'm glad that you're here. Do go ahead and share the show. Go ahead and push it out if you've enjoyed it. What does that say? It's something I don't know what that is. But at any rate, I want to thank all of you who are watching and who will share the show and who have commented and who asked questions. Thanks so much. You are really, truly wonderful. And those of you who do share, I really do appreciate it. It really helps everyone when you do. So go ahead and do that and help other people see the show. I've got an incredible lineup of amazing guests coming. Not all of them are actors. I have inspirational people, motivational people, thought leaders, as well as authors and actors and others. So stay tuned. Every Thursday we stream live right here, All Things Rex Worldwide on the Los Angeles Tribune. I want to thank Ava Manuel for producing the show today and every time, all the times that she does. I couldn't do it without her. I want to thank Mo Rock and the Los Angeles Tribune for the platform that we have to present All Things Rex Worldwide. And I want to thank you, the viewers, and of course, all my guests. So thank you. You can go to YouTube. You go to the Los Angeles Tribune YouTube, or you go to Create Your Best Life with Rex, and you can see on the playlist all of my previous guests, or at least most of all of my previous guests. So you can watch from show 1 all the way to the current show if you want to. Lots of amazing, wonderful, truly inspiring, truly magnificent, truly incredible talents and people who have broken the mold. So you want to go watch these powerhouses of positivity and of making things happen on All Things Rex Worldwide. Until I see you the next time, if you consider, I got to tell you about my book, because every week I give you the opportunity to not only, if you have my book, by the way, Life on Your Terms, this book is a very powerful book. People around the world are finding themselves using it to change their lives, because what I've done inside the book is to simply put it into step-by-step little positive things that you can do that can transform your life in incredibly exponential ways. So it's easy, step-by-step. It's the kind of thing that puts a smile on your face, and it brings you great bang for your buck. It really, truly does. But on top of that, you get the soft cover or hardcover from Amazon, and you go to rexsikes.com/book. I want to give you a $497 training, online video training called The Mastery Loop, which is how you master your thoughts, your feelings, your speech, your behaviors, and your pocketbook, whatever you want to master in terms of talents or skills or abilities. This is the formula of using your whole brain to be able to do that, to be able to do it easily and more effortlessly than you could ever think possible. So go ahead, get the book. If you get the book, take your receipt code back to rexsikes.com/book, put it in a little box, just follow the instructions right there at that website, and you'll get online access to this $497 training absolutely free. Absolutely free. And that's my gift to you. So if you consider something a problem, it will always be a problem. But if you consider something a blessing, it will be a blessing. And that's why I say celebrate everything. Until next time, I'll see you. I'm Rex Sikes.